The housing on here I've washed out with the brake cleaner, and I've taken out the little, there's a little bung right down here at the bottom, a little 7/16 or 11mm plug, and I put the bowl underneath there to collect anything. This is nearly empty now, but you'll probably see it dripping out there. Alright, so that's washed out, that's nice and clean. Nothing in there. The CV, the shop said it was gone. Now, obviously I've put this through the parts washer, it is a bit clunky. And it's a bit this way, you know, you can pull it in and out. Well, I'm not worried about that. That's on the spline against the circlip. That's the least of our worries. So what we're going to do is pop a bit of grease in. Oh, they've got a hole in now. And see what it sounds like with some grease in. Because, you know, I don't like spending people's money, but I don't think there's real need to put I don't think there's real need to change the CVs just for the sake of changing them. I think we've caught them just in the right time. Work that grease round, look. Now you can hear, the only sound you can hear is the spline. So it's this. I think the CV is good. I'm going to put it back in. But I always preload up CVs, even though we're going to use that liquid grease. Preload them up first, give them a head start. You know. Right. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to pop that back in, because I can now keep that off the floor. Push that around a bit. Now they always are a bit of tricky to get in. You're supposed to sort of get them. Get it. There it. There. Wheel has to be nice and square. So that's all right. I think that plays more like in the diff itself. I'm just wondering if there's any oil in the axle. So we're going to drain the oil out in the axle, change the oil, it's worth doing. Next thing, find a gasket for here, put the stub on, and we'll start to reassemble the bearings. I'm going to put a bit of grease on this needle roller bearing inside just to give it a head start. The seal, surprisingly enough, inside there is quite supple, and of course, instead of putting sealer on these gaskets, we just put a bit of grease. It'll soften up the gasket a bit, make it go all nice and spongy. That's all we do. Now it's special. There's no pressure involved in that axle, so there's no real need to put sealer on. We get that on. Now we've already washed out the holes in here, you know, so we can put our Loctite on the bolts and then tighten those up properly. I'm going to tighten all these bolts down on this flange, but instead of using a torque wrench, well, I am using a torque wrench, I'm going to use these good old-fashioned ones. Now, why am I going to do that? Well, I got a bit fed up of readjusting the click setting for the old torque wrench every 5 minutes. You know, you need pretty good accuracy for cylinder head bolts to stop warping and things like that. But for these things, they're supposed to be 65 Newton meters. The scale on here isn't really very accurate, but it gives you a good idea. So 65 or 70 Newton meters, you'll be in the ballpark. The thing is, if you're ever changing when you're doing this, there's that many different torques. But if you look at it square on, like that, instead of looking at it at an angle like this, you must look at it square. You can be pretty accurate, because I've actually checked it with the old click ratchet and they've been quite good. Just keep your eye on it. There. Now I've already done all the rest, so I'm just going to work around them. That one's alright. That one's alright. That's good. That's good. That's good. And again, back onto this one. And that's good. Sometimes the old things are not too bad. It's just a pity the scale goes from 0 to 200 Newton meters in such a short range. If it was 0 to 200 Newton meters across the whole scale, wow, that would be brilliant. So that's that done. Next thing is going to we've put the new grease in the bearings, assemble the hub. So with these torqued down to 65 Newton meters, the cap, I turned the cap the other way around so we knew that the spline was good. We wobbled it around, everything's nice and tight. Now we're going to pull out the CV and we're going to fit the shims. We're using the original shims, and I think they're, by filling them with your little fingernail there, it looks as if the gap is quite nice. So we're just going to try the little snap ring back on. Should you replace it? I don't know. You can go kind of wild replacing just about everything and run out of money. That is lovely. No free play. Nice. Just give it a little tap round, make sure it's in. That is good. Last thing, going to wash out this little cap, make sure it's a nice tight fit. You can see it's had rust around here. Clean that off, bang that on, and then we're going to just leave everything for a little while and concentrate on doing this tie rod. So there we are. All I've got to do now is fill this hub with grease. We've done that before. Kind of easy. You should know how to do it now. The brake pipe is good. I'm pleased about that. I'm going to put the caliper on with brand new bolts and Loctite. Yeah, I could have replaced the CV, I could have replaced the swivel, I could have replaced the seal, I could have replaced all sorts of stuff. And then he gets a really big bill for a customer, and quite frankly, the other parts were quite serviceable. And by having a look and inspecting them, you know, rather than say, oh, the CV's gone, well, obviously it wasn't gone, it wasn't blown up. That's the thing I was expecting. You know, there was real serious damage, but there wasn't really. So where's the vibration coming from? Well, it could come from anywhere really. I would put money on the wheel being out of balance. So we're going to try and get some winter tyres for this, and then I'll take it for a run. I've got the shock bushes to replace. Again, nothing really difficult, nothing really hard. Going to change this tie rod end. I've got some here with the grease pointing, so that's alright, and I know it's a right hand thread because it's on the drag link. I've got that to change, and also at the same time I'm going to check the length of the drag link to make sure that's right, and make sure that our steering's going to be correct. What was it, 924 millimeters between centre of here and the eye of the other end where it goes onto your drop arm. So yeah, I think we can wrap this corner up. If there's anything on the other side, I'll strip it down while I'm filming, but I might not post it, if you see what I mean. But it was quite a surprise to find no grease at all, no oil in this swivel, so we did actually catch it just in time. I have seen these absolutely stone dry, but the grease will stop, it won't leak, and it'll be okay. And like I say, I'm going back on myself again. There was some pitting on the swivel ball, but really not enough to justify replacing it. The grease will do a good job, believe me. Alright, so I hope you like that, and we'll see you in the next video, because we're making this Land Rover a lot better, that's for sure. See ya.